but that'd be good. We'll have the recording. I will point to the recording who were unable to join. We had quite a few people that emailed us if they were working or weren't able to join tonight. Okay, so I will start off. My name is Richard Tarpey. I am the faculty advisor now for this particular organization, the MTSU Supply Chain Management Student Organization. So welcome to our, I hate to say it's our 2020 kickoff, but it actually is because we didn't do anything in the spring semester. And as it turns out, to be honest with you, after spring break, nothing would have happened anyway, I'm sure, just based on the commitment that we had to do for all the online classes and all. So this is a good time to kick off. The reason I kicked this off here in the summer is we had an opportunity in the fall to get our organization re-registered and on all the books for the opportunity to potentially access funds, which we will do this fall, I'm sure, but just to get us back to re-register with MTSU's administration, but we have to have student officers to have that. And let me do this. I've had this problem on Zoom. If you're not talking, go ahead and put yourself on mute. I don't know why today. I've been meetings today and just had a lot of feedback from all kinds of stuff. Hopefully it's not my computer, but we shall find out.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Maybe it's a setting that I have, but I only see you and Kimball, and everybody else just has their name. So does everybody else have their video turned off, or do you have their video turned off? Or
I do not. Most likely it's them, because I don't, that I'm aware of. I don't think I could turn off just certain people.
So do you see anybody besides Kim? Well, there's
Yep.
Marcus.
There's Marcus.
There's Marcus's table.
Yeah. I think a lot of folks just don't have their video on.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Marcus. All right, so let's see, where was I? Oh, student officers, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So before we get started, I'm just going to quickly introduce, we've got Dr. Bullington and Dr. Wellborn here with us. If you're in the supply chain major, you certainly know them already. If you're new to our major, you will get to know them, I'm sure. Between the three of us, we teach a lot of the classes. We also have two other professors, Dr. Junfeng Yu and Dr. Brian Keithley, who could not make it tonight. And then we have a new professor that starts, I guess, next month. Dr. Morgan will be here that you'll be meeting as well through classes, depending on what you take. So very quickly, Dr. Bullington, I didn't really prep you anything. Is there anything would you like to start with an introduction for yourself?
You know, so I've been at MTSU for 23 plus years, and just really excited about this. We've made a few, Dr. Welbert and I have made a few sort of abortive attempts to get supply chain management student organizations going. And the reason why they failed is because we tried to do it. No, instead of turning it over to the students and letting you run it. And this is gonna make it more successful, but it's gonna depend on you. And I think it's gonna be a good service opportunity for you. I think it'll look good on your resume. I'm just really excited about it. There was when I graduated from college as an undergraduate back right after the Earth's crust cooled, and I was in a program where it was like feast or famine, very cyclical, and I happened to catch it on the upswing, and there were just jobs everywhere. Supply chain management is just like this. It's not up and down. It's just like this. It has been for a number of years. So I'm excited for you. I think you've chosen a good area, and just looking forward to this year with you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Dr. Welborn?
So I would just second that. Dr. Bullington mentioned we've had the student organization for a couple of years, and it's kind of gone up and down because we're kind of running a two-man show, and although it absolutely we need students to run the organization, you know, having Dr. Tarpey here has been a huge boost to our program. And as soon as Dr. Morgan shows up, I think it's going to be another huge boost to our program. So you're in this program at the right time. It's at a time when we're getting more faculty, so we're going to have more opportunities for student organizations. We're going to have more opportunities to offer more electives. We're going to have more opportunities for somebody to come to besides just two of us. We've doubled our forces here in the last few months, actually. So you're here at the right time.
I do want to say also that you have the opportunity to learn more in like plant visits and guest speakers than you will from any textbook that we have. So getting involved in the activities of the student organization, that's where real learning can happen.
That's a great point. I appreciate that. But the one thing, although, as Dr. Bullington put it, they've had some abortive attempts to do the student organization. The one thing that has been consistent is there's been guest speakers, there's been opportunities to go visit local places of business to talk about supply chain and meet some of the folks in local industry. So we're going to continue that in this organization, certainly, hopefully improve that even more, and I'll talk about that here shortly as well. If you are in the supply chain concentration, fantastic. If you're not and you're considering it, some of the information out that actually Dr. Welburn had brought out, it's been a number of weeks now, but the supply chain program right now is larger than half of the programs at MTSU by number of students. So it's a big program. It's growing into a big program, I should say. And we're looking at a program that's, guys, how many years old are we talking here? It's been around a while, but at least formally. 2?
Yeah. I've unmute myself too.
2. So that's incredible growth in 2 years. Obviously, what a time for supply chain with the COVID-19 deal. Everybody's talking supply chain. You know, a year and a half ago, people were like, hey, supply chain, what's that? Now everybody knows, because they couldn't find toilet paper a few months ago, that the supply chain is something important in life. And we actually have some discussion items in our classes on toilet paper now to talk about supply chain. So great opportunity. If you're not aware, Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro, the Middle Tennessee region is, I like to call it a mecca of supply chain around here. If you think about where Tennessee is situated, we are, oh, I forgot, I should have brought this. We are, I believe it's within 8 hours of everybody on the east of the Mississippi or something like that, 8 or 9 hours by interstate for the eastern half of the United States. And if you think about that, since we're so geographically centered in the eastern part of the United States, supply chain, this is the place to locate, right? This is the place to locate if you're in logistics and all that stuff. And we have tons of companies around here. If you drive up and down 840, or if you drive through Smyrna, Laverne, and all those areas, the Rutherford County and Southeast Davidson County area is loaded with supply chain. So there's tons of opportunities in this area. It's a good place to be, a good program to be in. So I will leave it at that for the moment. I'll open it up and see if anybody has any questions before we get into our more formal presentation part of tonight. Just unmute and ask a question if you have one. Otherwise, we will move on.
Hey, Richard, maybe one thing I'm curious about, I'm just looking at the names that are popping up here. So not everybody's a current student. I see a couple of former graduates up here, and at least a couple of graduate students. I don't know if there's a quick way to get a head count of like how many undergraduate students do we have here, how many graduate students, and how many alumni do we have here? I don't know if you can do it with a thumbs up. You know, if you.
Yeah.
Anybody know how to do the reaction? You know, like I just did a thumbs up if you have a reaction.
Let's see if everybody can figure out, if you're an undergrad, see if you can get your thumbs up like Dr. Welburn has. 4. Okay, if you're a grad student, go ahead and take yours down. Grad students, go ahead and go out there. Marcus, yep, I know you. Yep, absolutely. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you're an alumni or graduated recently or whatever, Okay, I think we just have one.
Maybe just Miriam.
Yeah. So I was going to talk about this in a minute. We're going to also have opportunity for alumni in this organization. Obviously, we can't, you won't be an official member on the rolls because you're not in the system anymore. But I want to do something around the alumni side to stay involved, because that's kind of how we sustain this. You know, when alumni are involved and they say, hey, yeah, I was in the supply chain program, I'm working this job now. We want those folks to come back and talk to our new students where possible and kind of tell their story. So I haven't really visioned out what that's going to look like. I've talked to Jackie Victory, who's over student affairs. I said, hey, I want to involve alumni in our student organization. She said, oh, that's no problem. They just can't, they won't be in the roles. They can't be an officer, obviously. You have to be an enrolled student to be an officer in the organization. But we certainly have a place where alumni can still connect and get information and contribute for us. So I'm glad you brought that up, Cliff. Thank you.
I nominate Miriam as chair of the Alumni Committee.
Wait, you did what? Hi, Dr. B. How are you, sir?
All right. Let's see here. I am going to share just a quick, if I don't click the wrong button, I'm going to share just a quick presentation. I'm going to go through a couple points here for you. Let me hit share. Let me go over here. Let me go there. All right, so let's talk about, here's the things we're going to talk about tonight. We already accomplished number one. I'm going to talk about CSCMP. We're going to review the student officer positions, hopefully convince some of you to nominate yourselves to run for these positions. We're going to talk about some new positions, and we'll talk about the fall 2021 semester, what our objectives are. So first and foremost, let me announce that we now are affiliated with the Nashville chapter of CSCMP, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. We've just done that within the last month or so. The affiliation is going to be very beneficial to you. And I'll leave this out here. You know, I'll have this slide deck. If you want it, you can email me. I haven't found a way to put documents out very effectively in the website, but we'll talk about that too. So essentially, here's what we've got with the affiliation. So you're going to have an opportunity to network with representatives and executives from local companies. They have professional development, including training and certification programs that you'll have access to, their career center, the student roundtable to connect with students around the country, a searchable member-only online directory to look up folks, free subscription to Supply Chain Quarterly. Now, to actually become a student member of this organization, it is going to be $40 per year for you to do so. Now, that's a $40 investment in probably a future career if you think about networking with some of these folks. Now, I've been meeting with a representative from Dollar General and one from Bridgestone who's on their board in charge. They've got basically the education affiliations from their board of directors, or their, I think it's board of directors, what they call it. But essentially, they were expounding on internship opportunities and other opportunities that can be had through connection through CSCMP, in addition to potential part-time opportunities with Dollar General that gentleman was talking about, and other types of opportunities to get involved in local industry and meet people in the local industry. All of you already know, and you've heard, the way you get jobs around here is by knowing people, right? Being connected. I come from HCA after 22 years. I've been at MTSU here now since last fall. Coming out of industry, I can tell you now, HCA basically doesn't hire anybody unless you know somebody. It's just the organization is so large, they get 10,000 applications a week for jobs. Essentially, unless you know somebody that can kind of take your resume and put it on a desk somewhere, it's difficult to get jobs these days just because there's so many people looking for jobs. So with that being said, it's a $40 a year investment. If you can't do that, if you're not going to do that, we're still going to have opportunities to network in this student organization. CSCMP has committed to a minimum of 2 events per semester. The fall events will obviously be remote. There'll be Zoom meetings. We'll have some brown bag type events. They've committed to bringing executives from local companies out to talk to us, or through Zoom to talk to us, talk about their companies, their opportunities. We've got a lot of good opportunities with this particular affiliation. I'll also let you know we're seeking another affiliation. Don't have anything official on that yet, but you'll get more information as we go further down the fall semester.
Richard, could I just a quick comment? So
Please.
I talked with Chad Autry, who's the director. Professor Autry is the director of UT's supply chain program, which is one of the top programs. I think they're rated number 2 in the nation, or number three in the nation.
Yep.
A very solid program, and Chad is just a top-notch guy. And I asked him that they are also affiliated with CSCMP. And I asked him about the $40, and he says he did not flinch. He said we want students to have some skin in the game. He says not everybody's going to join, but the ones who do are going to differentiate themselves. And we believe the same thing. We believe the same thing.
We do. Absolutely. I appreciate that. We're going to have the 2 reps from CSCMP come out in our first meeting, or again, I keep saying come out, it'll be Zoom in August or September, and give us a little deeper dive into what the benefits are to this particular membership, student membership, and why it would be beneficial to you. So I'm not going to steal all their thunder. They'll have some good information for us.
We save you more than that just on not requiring books in a number of our classes.
That's a good point. All right, let's move on to what we need to accomplish. We have in our current constitution, we have 3 student officer positions: the president, the vice president, and the treasurer. Those are elected positions. Their current roles and responsibilities are listed on this particular slide. Now, what I want to forewarn you of, I'll come back to this slide. One of the items I want to accomplish as follows: I want to get a Constitution Review Committee put together. So the 3 electees of president, vice president, and treasurer will participate. Any other member of this organization who wants to volunteer and be on this committee, we'll let you in on this committee. We'll do some Zoom sessions. I want to review the Constitution. I want to review these roles and responsibilities, make sure they make sense. Last time I looked, we have 53 individuals who are on the roll for this organization right now, and those are all recent confirmations. So I purged everything that was in the MTSU system, and I started over with invites, and we've got 53, well, 53 minus 4, I guess we got 4 professors in there. So we got 49 individuals right now that are confirmed that have replied and said, hey, I want to be part of this organization. So we're not going to be an organization of 7 people, which is good. But I do want to look at these particular job responsibilities, and I want to think about, are those the right responsibilities for these positions? Because if you run and are elected for one of these positions, this is something you can put on your resume, right? And I don't know if coordinating activities and meetings, assist faculty advisors, and recruiting guest speakers, we can probably reword that a little bit for the president and provide a little better representation of the role for the resume. Same with vice president, same with treasurer.
Hey, Richard?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if my screen's not updating, but I'm seeing your slide number 1 right now.
Really?
Is anybody else?
Yeah, I think I am too.
Yeah, just
Me too.
screen 1 for me.
We're just seeing slide 1 right now, not the roles and responsibilities.
Let me stop sharing and reshare. How's that sound? I bet it's when I went into presentation mode, might have messed it up. So let me just leave it out of presentation mode for now, and I'll just we'll make this smaller and make that. I think, is that big enough for everybody to see?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, are you on the agenda slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So we talked about CSCMP, some of the benefits of the affiliation. Here's where I am, the president, vice president, treasurer. Thank you, Cliff. Appreciate that. Now, in addition to these positions, I foresee we need more help. That's not going to get it. So I'm proposing that we have a communications officer, public relations, that's going to include talking about our website, our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page right now that Dr. Welburn's been updating. Him and I have already talked. It makes sense that we kind of roll that into the responsibilities to make sure our Facebook page is updated timely and with relevant information. I also want to do a LinkedIn, potentially a LinkedIn account for this organization. A lot of people use LinkedIn these days. I believe we need a membership officer that's going to help us with recruiting, keep the membership roll clean. I want to also keep up with where people go. And that's kind of one of the things I'd like this person to do is as people graduate and get jobs, we're going to have a spot in our membership rolls where we can keep up with that. And then I believe, and I actually got this, funny that Dr. Bullington would mention this, I actually grabbed the CSCMP liaison from University of Tennessee's constitution for this organization. I thought it was a great idea to have an individual that would interface with CSCMP for us and help us coordinate everything that we want to do with that organization. So I'm proposing those three. Now, the way this works, of course, is we'll elect our three current officers. We will hold these conversations around the Constitution Review Committee. This committee will draft the changes to the Constitution. We put that Constitution back out. We email out to all the members. We'll have a meeting. All it requires is 2/3 majority. And then the changes to the Constitution are passed and we have a new Constitution. So we have to go through the formality, obviously, of updating our Constitution appropriately. But this committee will look at various other things in our current Constitution and just be sure that we've got a good starting point. So with that being said, I want you to be thinking about, these are self-nominations, obviously. If you would like to be president, vice president, or treasurer, by all means, please email me. The election will be held in the system. I'm going to show you the system in a minute, hopefully. I'd like to get email nominations by the end of this month. I'm going to give you a couple of weeks to think about it. We'll hold the election in early August, and then the new officers will be in the Constitution Review Committee with anybody else who wants to participate. So let me stop and ask if there's any questions around the student officer positions.
Are they elected annually or how long is the term?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the election will be in August. Those individuals will serve in those positions for that current academic year. So they'll serve for till the following summer, I guess. We'll hold our election. I'm fuzzy. I forgot what the Constitution says. Either we hold it at the end of the spring semester or first thing fall semester, but we have the latitude to change that if we want. So it's a one-year term. Now we need to write into our Constitution as well as if somebody graduates, how do we get a new president, or if somebody, for some unforeseen reason, leaves the university, we've got to have information in there on how we would have a succession plan. So does the vice president move up and we elect a new vice president? You know, we've got to put all that in there. I've pulled UT's Constitution off the internet. They've got some of that built into there. So at least we got a starting point. There's dozens of these type of organizations out there that we can pull their constitutions and take a look. I had my GA last semester. She gave me a whole list of comparable universities to ours and higher that have these type of organizations, and we pulled a ton of information that we can use for reference. Other questions? Great question. Thank you. All right. If not, then I will continue on. So think about that. Shoot me an email, rtarpy@mtsu.edu, and we will get that election set up. Again, it's a good resume builder. Talked about the Constitution Review Committee. Okay, let's talk about fall 2021. All right, so we want to define our student officers and responsibilities. That's via the Constitution, the amendments that we're going to draft and hopefully get approved. We'll have the coordination of a minimum of 2 CSCMP events, and we will have other events as well. Certainly, if we get another affiliation, we'll have the same type of event. Not sure, you know, the fall's not looking too good for site visits and those type of things. The 2 gentlemen from CSCMP were First thing we want to do is, oh, we can do this site visit. Oh yeah, wait, we can't do that. We'll have to wait. So that might be more of a spring type activity, but we'll see how things go. Draft and approval of the member recruiting strategy. So I want a formal recruiting strategy that's put together. That'll be the two positions. The membership. We want to put a strategy together how we can recruit on an annual basis at MTSU. How do we get out there to freshmen, sophomores, get them interested in our organization? Hold on, I'm just seeing if somebody was texting. Okay. Draft approval of our website and Facebook page maintenance. We want to put a process into this. I don't want somebody just to do it for 12 months and then they leave the university, they leave their position, and then we got to start all over with, okay, how did they do this? What did they do? I kind of want a little formality around how that process works. So if we have a jobs posting page or something, how does that get fed? Where does the information come from? That kind of stuff. So we'll draft that out through a process diagram, which everybody should be familiar with. And then other items as proposed and approved by the organization. So by all means, we are open to any item. If somebody has a suggestion of what we can do for a meeting, what we need to cover, what you'd like to hear about, a company you'd love to hear about, I'm sure between the three of the professors here, we can reach out and see if we know somebody there. I know probably somebody at every healthcare organization in Middle Tennessee between Dr. Bullington and Dr. Wellington. They've got, I don't want to put a number out there, but a majority of the supply chain companies in this region, they've got some sort of relationship with. And we'll see if we can put something together. All right. So that's kind of, well, that's exactly what we want to handle in fall of 2021. So that's the end of this part. So let me get out of this and go back to stop sharing. And go back here. All right. So with that content, anybody, again, I'll open up for questions. Questions on running for office, questions on what we're going to accomplish, what we're going to attempt to achieve. Any questions on why should I even be in this call and be part of this organization? Anything of the above.
I do have some questions, Professor Tarpe, to yet. I was gonna say that instead you're saying that maybe on-site visit is impossible, but maybe we can do like a virtual guest speaker.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And don't, yeah, maybe not impossible. We'll see. You know, if we had one next week, I could tell you it's impossible. But again, it's all going to depend on how the virus situation plays out.
Gotcha.
But,
all right.
yeah, we'll certainly have virtual guest speakers, virtual events.
Okay. All right.
Was that your only question?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
Just a quick question regarding the last slide. To be clear, were those objectives for this upcoming fall or the fall of next year?
See, now I was hoping nobody would notice that, and I said it like 3 times, but it's for upcoming fall 2020.
Okay, I was just double checking.
That was actually a test to see if anybody was paying attention to my presentation. Caught it, Brad. Good job.
Thank you.
Fantastic job.
Professor Tarpe.
Seth, what can I do for you?
Yes, sir. Do you know when we'll be having our fees due?
Well, so no. So the organization itself doesn't have a fee. What we'll do is if you want to join CSCMP as a student member, we'll provide you all the information on how to do that. And
Okay, thank you.
You know, you can do it this month, you can do it next month. It's really, you'll be doing it through their website and getting all access to their student membership access, for lack of a better term.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
This organization has no fee. You can participate in this organization all you want for no fee. Great question.
I have a question, Dr. Tarpe.
Go for it.
With the site visits being up in the air right now, should I reconsider taking distribution center management for fall 2020?
Well, I'm gonna punt that one over to Dr. Wellburn or Dr. Bullington. They're still with us. I would say no, but I'll throw that out there to them. Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. So,
Okay.
is Dr. Welborn, is he scheduled to teach that?
Not at, were you talking about undergraduate level?
Graduate level,
Graduate?
graduate.
So yeah, I would be teaching it. You know, I wouldn't tell you to put it off because, you know, we don't know that the spring is going to be any different than the fall. So that's one thing. I think our opportunities to have site visits in the fall are going to be limited, and that's obvious why that is. We'll figure out good things to do even if we're not able to do physical site visits. So just like somebody was saying, you know, maybe we could have a virtual guest speaker. There's some pretty good videos out there of distribution centers, and I think if you talk to some of the people that were in our graduate key performance indicator class back in the spring, we started off with site visits, and it was the way kind of we thought things were going to go. And obviously at spring break time, things kind of flipped, and we kind of took a different approach to the class. I don't think the students would say that one was necessarily better than the other. You know, site visits are certainly fun, and you get something out of those that you don't get from other activities, but we can find other activities that are still very valuable. So I wouldn't put it off.
So I mean, one of the things we run into from time to time is people will let you walk into a facility, but they won't let you take any pictures. But I do believe that this is sort of an exceptional situation, and I think that Dr. Welborn has connections with some people will let us take some pictures. You know, some people will let us get in at least in some part of the facility so we can see it. I'm just betting on that.
Good question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, to Dr. Welborn's point, you know, I'm on a task force that's attempting to model the COVID-19. We're currently working on Florida for the next 6 months, and obviously they have access to some incredible data from the government and other places. And you know, not to be the bearer of bad news, but it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. It would, based on the mobility of people, that the data that we've got access to of where people are going, and how that's corresponding or correlated to hospital admissions across 8 hospitals. It's scary. The governor of Florida has said he is not going back to shut down no matter what. So that kind of plays into it. We don't know what Tennessee will do. I heard this morning that Governor Lee is holding it phase 2, and he's very open, according to the media. If it's correct or not, you never know with this media, but he's very open to going back to phase 1 at any time, is what it said this morning. So I don't know, you know, I don't know. I think everybody's pretty set on the fact that until a vaccine comes out, we got issues. A vaccine that works. So to Dr. Welborn's point, I wouldn't put anything off hoping that spring would be a whole lot better. It may be. We can be hopeful. Okay, I think I see a hand raised. Brittany, do you have a hand raised? Is that what that sign is?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, actually, I'm an operations manager for GEODIS. I'm sure you've heard of us.
Yep.
So if I can help in any way with site visits or some alternative to that, feel free to reach out, and I'll try to coordinate that for you.
I have got your name down, Brittany. That is fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brittany, which site are you at?
I am actually at the corporate office in Brentwood.
Okay.
Great.
So we've toured the Starbucks facility.
I haven't actually been in the Starbucks facility. I've worked with that team extensively, but I have been to our Apple facility. So definitely, you know, no pictures and certainly a limited number of guests that are allowed there, but they're a little less strict at Starbucks.
So we've toured both of those facilities at different times.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
You know, the limitations on videos is real, but I really believe that some of the smaller that's one thing we found. If you don't have corporate legal telling you you can't do it, then you can do it. And so it may be that we end up going into some of the smaller facilities, or we may, you know, in a situation like Geodis, it may be just an interview with somebody in a meeting room, and they would be okay with that. So I think there's going to be some way that we're going to be able to have a real event.
And again, things might get to the point where we can, at least with masks, have an event with some level of comfort. And I've been reaching out across the healthcare contacts. If anybody's specifically interested in healthcare supply chain, there's huge opportunities in the Middle Tennessee area, Middle Tennessee region, with healthcare supply chain, with Health Trust, HCA's Health Trust. Cardinal's got some representation here. So we've got most of the industries represented here with our faculty staff in this program.
So I have a question related to that, and maybe you don't know the answer yet, but so in the past, I've used our Facebook page to post job ads that I see. Do you have any thoughts about what's the best way to do that going forward?
Not specific. We still want to do that. And that kind of goes down to that process of how will job ads get posted. I want to diagram that out. So do we have somebody that's kind of our membership person here out there looking for those type of job ads? That's part of their responsibility. Are you still finding them and feeding them in? You, me, and Dr. Bullington, and Dr. Morgan, feeding them in. So I think that's one of the things we want to address pretty early on, is how's that process going to look? Because I think that's been very beneficial to students to see those particular job ads rather than have to go through pages and pages of stuff. You've kind of picked out the ones already that students would have a shot at, right? So you've already weeded out the ones that students don't have a shot at for the most part.
Right.
Which is very helpful. And we can kind of learn how you do that and transition that to the membership officer each time. I don't know, you and I need to talk about that, and then have the officers come up with a process. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is sort of technology-wise, is MyMT a place where we could put those ads, or is Facebook still the best place for that?
I'll hold off on that answer. I've been exploring MyMT and been pretty disappointed so far.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That's why I started using Facebook. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to share this because I did want to go here as well. That's a great segue. Let me get into. So for those of you that don't know, if you go into, let me actually start with, just go to MTSU. If you go and search student organizations, hopefully it'll work. Search wasn't working yesterday. Just go to the first student organizations when you find, which is their department. Student organizations tab on the left. You can see the A to Z listing of student organizations. Then you can bookmark this once you get it, obviously. Whoops, type in supply chain. Supply chain management org comes up. This is us. So this is our page, if you will, on MyMT. And I've already started putting some news out here. I had an announcement for this particular meeting. I had Dr. Welburn's interview from the MTSU TV magazine show, Out of the Blue. If you get a chance, take a look at that one. Dr. Welburn talks all about our supply chain management program. So we're going to use this right now for news. We've got some old pictures out here from other events that have happened in the past. I don't see a lot of opportunity. There is a document place here. There's really no opportunity to put job postings. I don't think this is going to be our main source of contact in the future, to be honest with you. I tried to do an event for this particular meeting. It sat out there forever and nobody ever approved it. I'm assuming it's because they were all out of the office due to the COVID situation. So I don't know. Well, that's definitely one of the first things we want to review and think about. What is our communication strategy for this organization? What technology should we use? And then what roles and responsibilities are placed around it?
I just want to point something out over there. The gallery kept popping up there on MyMT. So some of you that are interested in guest speakers and in site visits, if you look on the Facebook page or you look on this MyMT page, you'll see we have a lot of really good connections with folks that are really good about letting us in. And obviously, like we were just talking about, things may be a little bit different because of the COVID-19, but everybody that's in these pictures, I still know who they are, and they're willing to help us however they can. So we'll figure something out. And if you just look through the pictures, you'll see it's not just one or two companies that we keep taking people back to the same place over and over and over and over again. It's YoPlay and Pillsbury and Under Armour and Ingram Content and Saks Fifth Avenue and Frito-Lay and Store Opening Solutions. So it's, we don't just have one or two out there.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And someday we'll get back to some level of normality where we can do these. So for now, my communication will be through the news items on this particular page. And then I will also be, every time you do that, it goes back to all news items for every organization. So again, it's just not the best. Now it goes back to the home. So it's just an interesting little thing. But I'll be communicating mainly through email right now until we figure out how we're going to communicate as a group. I don't think this is the answer. But this is the official place. We do have to hold our election, and we have to store our Constitution. We have to list our officers. There's a few little paperwork, housekeeping stuff we have to do for MTSU administration to remain an organization. So we can't just ditch this completely. We got to use at least the bare minimum. All right. Good deal. Let me get back here. Let me get out of this and come back here. All right, let's see here. That is really the content I wanted to cover today in this introductory meeting. We will have another meeting in August. So my expectation now is I should get hopefully at least some volunteers to run for office for the 3 positions. The first thing we'll do is we'll talk about those other positions, the membership and the communication. Do we make those actual officer positions that are elected, or do we make them appointed? That's something that we'll have to deal with as far as the Constitution changes. But if you're interested in either of those 2 particular positions, also email me. Those we can basically just slot somebody in, unless I have 3 or 4 people, then we'll have to figure out how to do that are interested. It's another good resume builder. If you maintain a website for an organization, that's a pretty good resume builder as well. If you're a membership officer and you've led recruiting drives, that's all stuff you can talk about in interviews that show that you've done things in addition to your coursework. That kind of helps you during those interviews. So email me. I'm looking for, hopefully we'll get enough that we can hold an election. We'll have a meeting in August. That meeting will be, we may have 2 in August. If I have enough content, the first meeting we'll be just talking about the election and what our next steps are. And maybe the CSCMP meeting will be a separate meeting if we have a lot of content. I don't want to have a 2 or 3 hour meeting. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I will be sending a doodle poll out, just trying to look at when are the better times for people to meet. I did this one at 5:30. Typically, evenings are good times to meet. Most people, a lot of people work during the day. I can't necessarily have one at 1 o'clock. So I'm just going to send that out there. I can't guarantee that I'm going to get what you put as a preference, but I'm going to try to take a look and see where I can get the most folks. We'll record our meetings where appropriate, and we will have them available somewhere. Again, don't know where yet, but we'll figure that out so that you can at least keep in touch. By all means, you can always email, call, when you can with a mask, come to our offices, adhering to the MTSU policy on face masks for the next, or at least for this semester, and talk to us, whatever the case may be. So let me open up the floor one last time before we adjourn and see if anybody has another question that we can answer. Miriam,
Bridget, I have a question. This is Miriam.
yes.
I'm an alumni, and I was wondering, the CSCMP, I was looking at doing the membership anyway. I've attended one of their meetings last year, and it was very interesting and beneficial. Is the student, you said you were going to do a couple of events, hopefully a month. Is that something that's going to only be available to current students, or would that be something that I would be able to avail myself of as well?
From the event perspective, you are welcome to avail yourself of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we're not, we can involve you in those type of things. Again, you just can't run for student officer because you're not an enrolled student.
Right.
It's
That's
pretty much
totally
up to, it's up to us what we allow alumni, what they can do and they can't do. And I think that's keeping those connections and is very important, I think. Now, not an enrolled student anymore, you obviously wouldn't be a student member of the CSCMP. You'd have to look at their other
Right.
opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I figured.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Miriam, you know what? I apologize. I'm very embarrassed to say this. I neglected to send this meeting invite to the email address you gave me of the other person.
Oh, that's okay.
I will do that though. I've got him down on the list now though.
Okay.
I just saw that like a half hour ago and I thought, oh, you gotta be kidding.
Oh, that's okay. Was it Jeremy? Was it that email?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll let him know.
Okay.
He's still trying to find a job, so I was trying to get him connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, so my name is Dennis. I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm a supply chain management graduate student, right? And then most of the supply chain jobs that I've been seeing online requires so much experience that most of us do not have. So I wanted to know the role of the organization, how the role the organization is going to play to help some of us who do not have these required years of experience to seize these kind of jobs.
Well, that's a great question, Dennis. And I'll throw this out there first, and then I'll see if Dr. Wellborn wants to add to what I said. So I think from what you just mentioned, one good topic we could cover in our meeting, one of our first meetings, is what should you look at in a job posting to see what you're qualified for? Kind of help you look at job postings and say, okay, this class of job, or if you find this in the job, this would be something that you should apply for. And I've done this with a lot of students over the last year after helping them with their resume, and they come in and say, well, here's a job posting I want to apply for. And I look at it and say, well, yeah, you're not getting that job. That job is requiring 5 years of leadership experience that you don't have. I'm just making this up, obviously. And then we've kind of worked through and said, well, here's a job that makes sense. Now I encourage you to, do a stretch goal, if you will, and put one in if it's not just absolutely unreasonable. I used to do that way back in the day. If nothing else, I'd get an interview and get a lot of interview experience. I may not get the job, and then you never know. But certainly there's a cutoff where you don't want to apply for a job that's looking for 10 years of detailed experience that you don't have. When Dr. Wellborn goes through a lot of these job postings, he's already looking at jobs that he believes graduates or current students from the internship perspective would be qualified for. So, Dr. Wellborn, I'm probably rambling on. I probably should turn that over for you for a better answer.
I don't know if this is a better answer. Maybe it's a different answer. So two things, Dennis. You said, how can this student organization help? And it's sort of related. Both of them, the two ways are related. One way is to connect you with companies that are looking for interns. So if you're still at a point in your academic career where an internship is a possibility, or a student project, so like an independent study is a possibility, then the faculty members that you see in these meetings are going to be the faculty members that are going to be able to connect you with companies that are interested in these sorts of things. And that was the reason why when we were looking at the MyMT screen, I wanted to point out all the different companies that are there. We have good relationships with a lot of the companies in this area that would potentially hire supply chain graduates. So connecting you with internship project opportunities. And then on the other end, when you start actually looking for that job, Dr. Tarpey mentioned you're not going to get a job at HCA unless you know somebody. And that's true at a lot of companies. And again, I go back to all those pictures and say, we know a lot of people. So when companies come to us and And I was just dealing with somebody today, not 45 minutes before this meeting started. Companies come to us and they say, we're looking for a good candidate. Can you recommend anybody? And, you know, being in our classes is certainly how we get to know students, and we notice the good students and the ones who are, you know, score well, make good grades, and actively participate. But this student organization is a way for you to stand out amongst us, because we'll notice, well, who are the people that really seem to be interested in supply chain? And those are the students that come to the supply chain organization meetings, that volunteer for some of these leadership positions. So it's really, again, it's about networking. It's I sort of look at us as faculty. We're sort of in the center, right? There's companies out there that are looking for talent, and there still are companies that are looking for talent. And then there's students that are looking for jobs, and it's really hard for a student to make the connection to the company. But with us in the center, we're able to make that connection. I tell people we're like eHarmony or, you know, matchmaker.com. We find the company that's looking for talent, and we find the student that's looking for a company, and we try to match them up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wellborn.
Hey, Dennis, are you still at Asurion?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, we have the Follow the Path events, and you can do stretch assignments where you gain experience in different areas. And those stretch assignments, they usually turn into jobs.
Right. Yeah, I know of that. I even recently got a new position in Asurion as an analyst. So I moved to Baltimore. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Mark.
We're well connected with the Shurion also.
Okay, we've got just a couple minutes left. Anybody else have a question?
Miriam, this question is for you. With you being a recent graduate, can you like share some of your experiences going through the program and experiences after the program with the rest of us?
Sure. No, that's fine. Yes, I graduated in May, and I actually, I didn't do an internship, but I had a lot of work experience. So in January, I went after a job instead, and I got hired at Yazaki in January, and I started, which was interesting because that was 6 weeks before COVID hit. So I have a global supply chain, and I have factories or manufacturers in Mexico, Indonesia, and Vietnam. And so it's just been very interesting to learn, plus with all of the COVID stuff and the different countries shutting down at different times. So my production is shifting, and then my OEMs are opening at different times. And so it's definitely, I love supply chain. I loved all my classes. The first class I took was from Dr. Bullington. I did Intro to Supply Chain because it was a class that was available at a time slot when I needed. And I'm really glad I did, because I sat in that class and went, oh my gosh, I love all these things. It's efficiencies, it's process, so I would say the most helpful classes that I took was just the Intro to Supply Chain. And then Dr. Cliff's KPI class. That class is gold.
Which is where you met your boss's boss, right?
That's right. That's where I met Angela.
So Angela Stafford comes to that class, and there's a half a dozen analysts there at Yazaki that she's hired from that class.
Yeah, I would say participation. Pay attention, sit up, and look professional when you go into class. The first time Angela came, I was not prepared for a job. I had too many classes left. But when she came the second time in the fall, I was ready to look for a job and hand in my resume. And I always show up for class professional. I consider class to be my job, and I take it seriously because it's the job that's going to get me the job, right? And so when she came in, I was ready to go, and she remembered me because I participated and I interacted, and I handed her my resume, and I walked out with an interview, and I got the job. So, I mean, it's different for everybody, but there is something to be said for participating throughout the semesters, not just your senior semester or just the one class that's interesting, because you never know who you're going to meet and when.
Great advice.
I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that was kind of what I did to set my sights on a job, because that's the whole point of school, right?
Thank you. That was perfect.
Yeah.
So that's another great idea. Is we'll see if we can't get some other recent graduates to come to one of our meetings and talk through that same content that Miriam just went through of talk about the program and how they progress from the program into their current career. That might be helpful to folks as well.
So I know it's a first meeting and maybe everybody's a little bit hesitant to speak up. I would encourage you guys to send emails to Dr. Tarpey on what it is you might like to do in these meetings. If it's have a former graduate, if it's have a guest speaker, if it's do a resume clinic or resume workshop. I don't know what it is, and I would encourage you to send him an email to say, I would really like one of our meetings to be whatever it is, and we can probably arrange it if we just know what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great offer. Okay, I want to be sensitive to everybody's time, and I say that selfishly because I have a class that's starting here in a minute on Zoom. So thank you very much. Appreciate you joining today. Look forward to your continued participation in this organization. Please consider those positions that are out there and look for your email and look for the MyMT website for more information when our next meeting and what the next steps and next events are. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Welburn, very helpful, and Dr. Bullington, I know he dropped off, very helpful as well. And I guess our next meeting will probably be introducing Dr. Morgan, our newest supply chain professor, I would expect. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Stay away.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're most
See you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.